Hello, and thank you for joining me for this RackEmApp demonstration. And this demonstration is going to be geared around team leagues. It's your classic pool league scenario where you have multiple teams, sometimes multiple divisions, with captains that submit scorecards. Team leagues quite often also run competitions, cup matches, and this demonstration is going to cover most of what the RackEmApp platform can bring for you. There's obviously lots and lots of other things that I'm not going to be able to go into in this video, but hopefully it gives you a reasonable flavour as to what you would get out of using RackEmApp for your pool league. RackEmApp is a web-based platform that pool leagues can use to effectively manage your own website. Although we do, of course, have a mobile app that captains and players can use to enter scores and to manage things on a match night, actually the heart of your pool league is actually your website, and the website derives information that gets put in by yourself and the captains and the players. The website itself is shown on screen here, and it does all the things that you'd expect a website to be able to do. And there's some customization options, so you can change the basic color accent that we've got on here. You can change your logo, and it's got your name presented throughout it. Now, the websites are designed to be what's called mobile responsive, which means that when we shrink the screen down, it looks okay on a mobile phone. And that's because most of your players are going to be consuming your website. They're going to be looking at your website on a pool night on their mobile phone. They're probably not going to be doing it on a laptop ever, perhaps a tablet. But what you'll find is that when you shrink down any page on your website that comes completely out of the box and is all fully included with everything that you do within RackEmApp, they can just access the menu from the top left-hand corner. And alongside all the customization you get, you can even run your website on your own domain. So the Birmingham Pool League, for example, have registered brumpool.com, and it can redirect you, and the app can sit on the end of that URL. So you can make sure that your visitors are able to access your website easily using a URL that's memorable to you. Now, the website is available to anybody. Anybody can access it. You don't have to have a registered user account. So you can share the links. It's a web page, so any link can be shared through any channel that you like. And yeah, it's structured in the way that you'd expect a pool league management website to behave. The menu on the left-hand side consists of a number of different categories which present information to users, and most of this comes out of the system from what people are putting in either during the setup phase or during the course of the season. Now you can see here I'm logged in at the moment, so I've got a section up here that's dedicated to the various roles that I've been given as a user. From a league management point of view, you can access all of the different admin functions there. From a personal point of view, you can access all of your personal details there. And of course, I have some refereeing functionality, and I'm an administrator, so I get access to that. So you won't ever see that menu option there. But all this dark section here are all things that you will see on any other RackEmApp website, including the one that's going to be used for your pool league. And you can see here we've got the typical headings, some information, your fixtures, results, league tables, and your hot shots. Your hot shots are kind of your player statistics. So if I go into the information menu, I can click on venues. Now your venues are driven out of the system. Every team has to be assigned a table within a venue, and when you click on a venue name, then you'll be able to see the name, what tables they've got there, and actually, quite interestingly for the venue, all the matches that they've got scheduled. So whereas previously leagues might share a printed piece of paper saying this is where your what matches are going to be played this season, actually you can share them this link. And the reason this is useful is because this is dynamic. So if you were to have cup matches that are drawn for this venue, they would appear on this screen here. If you were to schedule singles competitions to appear on a venue, they would appear here. So it's a really good way of venues to be able to understand what matches they've got, perhaps in order to prepare food, etc., or whatever else they might need to know. The other option you've got here, because it's got a Google map, if captains aren't familiar with how to find it, they can press the directions button, and it will give them an idea of working out how they need to find that particular venue. In the information menu, we've also got a news system and the news archives here, so you can access a news page. So these news articles can be published to your social media channels with one click, and you can email these news articles out to your captains and players as well. So RackEmApp actually behaves as a communication platform as well, to make sure that actually all of your communications out to your teams, your players, can all go through a single channel, and that drives them back towards the website rather than having to use multiple different systems for these things. There's also a page management system or a content management system, and you can create web pages to display whatever content you like. So as an example, we have our constitution here. You use what's called a WYSIWYG editor, which allows you to make things bold, change colors of things. You can upload images. You can do whatever you want with these pages, but it just allows you to be able to upload content. Now, one of the things that we don't have with RackEmApp is you don't have the ability to download files. A common question that we get is, I need to upload my PDF to be able to download it because it contains my rules. My answer to that is a PDF is very, very difficult document to read on a mobile device. So you don't really want your rules and you don't want your constitution in there, because if people are browsing using a mobile phone, and 90% of your players will be using this on a mobile phone, if not higher, then it's going to be really difficult for them to be able to read and refer to some of these rules and some of these content. So we always recommend pasting the content and formatting it natively within the system, because again, if they're looking at a constitution on the mobile phone page, they can also use the find system. So if they need to find anything about, I don't know, dispute, then they can use the built-in browser to be able to find anything related to them, and you don't get that within a PDF document. So it's just, just something to be mindful of when we think about pages, content, and those sorts of things there. Also in the information menu, you get a contact us page. This will allow people to communicate to you. This form will be submitted to every single league administrator's email address that you have set up, and there is a recapture on here as well to hopefully prevent any bot attacks and any undue spam going into the system. And also within your league, we've also got the ability to set terms and conditions and privacy policies. Now, as a platform, we have our own terms and conditions and privacy policy, and whenever a person signs up to an account, they are expected to adhere to those policies. Now, as a league and as an organisation yourself, you're going to have your own commitments in terms of, what does it mean for them to either sign an account or to play in your league or whatever it's going to be. But more importantly, the privacy policy. How are you going to use that data? Everybody is within scope of the GDPR regulations. Most leagues have already given some consideration to this, but you need to make sure you're transparent and upfront in what you're doing with the information that you gather for them. And that's separate to the RackEmApp privacy policy, just so that you're kind of aware. And players and captains need to opt into both in order to be able to use the system, specifically to register an account in the system. Next up, in the fixtures menu, you have the fixtures that are separated out by division, and there's also an all divisions option. I'm just going to click on my Premier fixtures, and it shows you my next fixture at the top of the list, because that's the one that's most likely to be required, and obviously it shows these in order. We've also got the ability to reschedule fixtures within here as well, and it also shows any cup and competition matches within the fixtures list too. So you've got one central location to be able to view all of that. Now, also within here, in the fixtures menu, you've also got this poster option, and that poster will give you the classic fixtures poster that people like to be able to send around their leagues and maybe pin up in their venues and locations. Now, it doesn't look very good on a browser, but if you were to go to press the print button, then you can see it looks much nicer on an A4 piece of paper, and that could then potentially be printed and distributed among your venues. Now, what you'll see when you're looking at this page and actually any other pages, you'll actually find that if you think something might be interesting to click on, so wouldn't it be interesting to see what this team is up to, you can press on a team name and it will take you to the team profile page. Every single team within the system gets one of these profile pages, and these profile pages consist of a list of the players and their form and any statistics that are related to them, their unique player number, and also all of the matches that this particular team have played and access to the results. If you see a score, tap on a score and it will show you the scorecard for that result. It'll also show you things like if there's a break and dish, if there's a reverse dish, things like that. All the statistics are all available there. The other thing you can do, if you see a venue, click the venue. I showed you what those venue pages look like there previously. So if you click a venue name, it will take you to that venue page. But also, if you were to click a player, you can click on a player and it will show you that player's profile. And that player's profile consists of a number of different statistics. It shows you all of their match history. It shows you all the teams that they've been a part of, and you can drill into see their statistics for any particular season here. And if I just return back to my fixtures page, I'm going to show you it for my team, which is the Wolves B. And within the Wolves B team, we've got our trophy cabinet as well. So teams actually are perpetual and they can be carried on between seasons. You've got the concept of a seasonal team where you might have different players in different teams at different seasons, and those teams might change. So for example, this team was known as the Wickdown A for 3 seasons before being renamed as the Wolves B. So all of this history goes in against the parent team, if you like. And when they were known as the Wickdown A, they won the League Cup. They've also been runner-up in the League Cup as the Wolves B. So it keeps track of those rewards, I guess. Now, the other thing to note when it comes to these players are global, and players can be used across multiple different leagues. So this is the unique player number for Nick Chilton. So that player number is for him, and if he were to go and play in another local league that needed to register him, then you'd want to utilise this. And what this allows you to do is to have a consolidated view of the leagues that's been played with for this player. And if I view Nick's profile, and we can see here that Nick has played for Hampshire A and also Hampshire B, so it's got his history here from when that league was using that. So the next menu of interest then is going to be your results page, and just like the fixtures page, you get them separated out by division, and there's also an all divisions option for your results. And when I click on the Premier League's results page, you can see again the most recent results appear at the top, and it does include any cup matches that appear here. And you can scroll down and see all the history of the results for that. And again, click on a team name to access their team profile. You've also got for your competitions here, there's a little link there that will take you to that competition page. And if I click on that link, it will show me the competition information, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Like I mentioned earlier, you can click on any one of these scores and it will show you a scorecard for it. So if I just come back to find one of interest to me here, it shows me my break dish as a solid 8 ball. If there was a reverse dish, it would be a hollowed out 8 ball. But you can see here, every time you see a result, you can actually click on one of the results there. The next menu we have is the league tables. Again, divisions, all divisions. Click on the Premier League table and we can see the information about it. Now you can utilise this drop down box to see what it looked like at a historical point in time. And of course the league table can be configured based upon your needs, or specifically the points that get scored, and we use something called league table profiles to determine whether it's points per win, points per draw. There's 18 different bonus point systems that can be used as well for various things like points per dish, and get different points depending on how many frames you get. All sorts of manner of different things are there. That's the topic of an entirely different video or document. But you can see here very, very simply it shows you the teams in order. It shows you a line to indicate the relegation and the promotion line. So if I have a look at Division 1, for example, we can see promotion and relegation. And if I have a look at Division 3, we can see here there's a team that's already been promoted. So it gets a little P for a promoted team. It'll show a little R for a relegated team, and it will show a C for the league champions when it gets there. The next menu we have is our Hotshots menu. The Hotshots menu shows you your player statistics, and the word Hotshots can be named whatever you call your rankings. That could be merits, it could be rankings, it could be player of the year, you name it, whatever you like. And you can see we've got lots of different options in here. So for singles results, again, you've got an all divisions option, or you click on the singles, and then you can see your singles rankings. Again, there's lots of different rankings methods available. That's the subject of a different video, but you've got all the basics here. We do it based upon frames 1. Now, I can also optionally include any team competitions, to include cup matches, to indicate, to show that as well. And yes, you can find yourself in the rankings page here. We show appearances, your dishes, played one, and average. Now, also in here, which is a bit of a new feature, you've then got the dish table. So the dish table will show you the how many dishes have been done and across all divisions. In these hotshot screens, you've also got the ability to filter this down to just your team. So I can see here in my team, only myself and Nick Chilton have achieved a break or a reverse dish this season. But if I were to go into the Premier, I can see my team's performance. You can see how I'm sitting in a nice mid-table position there. Now, also within the hot shots, we do have some information about doubles, so doubles partnerships. If I click on the Premier, and again, I'll just filter this down to my team just to show you. You can see that I've got the best partnership here with my captain Sean. I've also got a good winning rate with Adam. So it shows you all the different potential partnerships that you've played together. And if I have a look at the doubles players, you get that on an individual basis, so regardless of who that partner played with. And if I again look at just my team, I can see here, look at that, I'm the best doubles player in our team. It's something I didn't even realise. There's also a combined view that takes into account doubles and singles frames. There's not many places that use it, but the data's there, so it's something that is available to you there. We have got a live scores button, and this will show you any matches that are in play. The live scoring we'll cover in a different part of the video later on when it comes to actually using the mobile application, but this is where the live scores will appear. In terms of competitions, your competition menu contains all the information about any active comps that you've got running for your league. You can see here during the course of the season, we run doubles, singles, we run cup competitions. And to view the information about that competition, just click the competition name. And that competition name shows you all the information about it. You can drill into the completed rounds. You can, of course, click on a particular scorecard to see what the score was. You can see there's a break dish there as well. You can see the date, and you can see the draw sheet with match codes as well if you're logged in. So you can use these to see exactly what's going on in terms of your competition. And again, these are all completely dynamic and real time. Players can actually book or arrange matches. There is a table booking system that can be used if you are a venue, but other than that, you can just arrange this. You can add referees to matches, so that you can have neutral venues for matches. If I have a look at something like the League Cup semi-final, we use neutral refs, so we assign referees to the match, and there's a refereeing mode they can use for that as well. So yeah, everything is all included in here and all updated in real time. There is the ability to run a competition series as well, which will allow you to see what the results are of a series of events and award points across all of those events too. So that's something that's there. And you've also got what we call custom menu items. So you can add your own links to things like your Facebook page, to our bookings, any web page that you want. It might be a link to your local EPA region or Blackball region, whatever it's going to be there. So you can actually add links to whatever you want, and you can add various icons into these as well. And finally, covering the kind of the main website, you've got all this stuff around your Roll of Honor, and you can see your Roll of Honor by season, by division, or by competition. If I click on it by season, we can see for each season who the winner was, who the runner-up was, and who the winner of the hot shots or rankings was for any of those particular divisions that you've got there. And of course, you can see the final league table, final the results, and the final hot shots for anything where it is a division. Now, what you'll see here, we've been using RackEmApp for a few seasons. It automatically populates this Roll of Honor at the end of season, so just keep your competitions open until the end of the season, and you'll find that they will appear here. But you can also record all of your legacy information in here when it comes to your perpetuals, and I'll go across that later on in the video when it comes to the kind of the basics of the admin side of things. So yeah, you can record all your historical winners for all your competitions, and it will link them up to these player profiles as well and reward them with their trophies. So we've covered everything that you get out of your website, and what I've done is I've just moved to my local development environment just to show you the back end. The back end is all also access through the web, and this is where you perform all of your administration. And during the course of your of running your league, then this is where you'll be spending lots of time doing various different admin tasks. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, all of your login options are on the left-hand side here, and anything related to the administration of your organization and your league can be done within the menu. We'll just work our way through these to talk about what they cover. So under your organization is anything that's specific to your organization that's not attached directly to a league or a particular season. So if I go into organization settings, we can see here I've got the ability to enter my organization name. I could set that I'm using a custom domain name, so this is where I wanted to use perhaps yourpoolleague.com. There is some additional setup there. You can see there's a link that takes you to our document around how we do that. the friendly URLs, that impacts the website that you have if you're not using a custom domain, and various other different settings here. Now, one of the things that you've got there, which you need if you want to use the invoicing system, which I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail in this video, but you need bank details, and this will allow you to show whenever you send an invoice and the bank information you've got there. There's an option to require phone numbers for player registration. That's something that's entirely league specific, and of course you need to make sure you've got the relevant things in your privacy policy and terms and conditions to make sure you're covered for users to insist that you are using that. And if you're not using doubles, you can hide those menus in here as well. You can also change the theme of your website. This is where you change your color there. You can change the background. You can change the logo. It's a broken image just because it's a local development environment. If I save the settings and press refresh, you can see I've now got the burnt orange theme, which again is just something that you've got available to you there. The next option I've got in here is in our policies. And we talked about the privacy policy and the terms and conditions. This is where you set up your league privacy policy and terms and conditions that appear underneath your information menu. We've also got in here your venues. So your venues are required to be set up before you register any teams and do any players there. And it's a very, very simple interface where you can actually click on a team or create the new venue button. All right, if I press, let's go to the Wolverhampton Club. We can see on here the ability to enter any details, contact information, whether it's active and appears on your website or not. And this is where you can create all of your tables. You can add new ones by pressing the button, and it will create one at the bottom. It gives you stream URLs for that, which again is a different topic. And also you can give it a name. So you can do all of that within the venue screen. We've got your match formats, and again, this is how you set up your match card and how your results are really structured. There's lots of different options in here. You can check the documentation for it, but this is where you set up your match format. At its heart, you set your formats up in sections, and each section has a number of frames that can have different numbers of people. So you can have singles, doubles, singles. You can have 6 singles, 3 doubles. You can structure it however you want. There's lots of other kind of settings in here that vary from league to league as to how these get used. You can actually have multiple different match formats, and you can have different match formats for your league matches versus your competitions. So, you've got the ability to be able to have a different format for cup, for example. Don't worry about deciders. There's a decider format for competitions, for cup competitions, where you could do things like a penalty shootout or a black ball shootout or a 6 red shootout, however you want to manage those, but that doesn't get handled in the match format list. The next thing, again, fully documented, is your league table profiles, and your league table profiles determine how you reward points for your league matches, and this is also utilised by any round robin competitions where you might have to produce a little league table as part of that as well. So it's got a name, you enter how many points per win, per draw, per frame or set if it's a competition, what the time method is, and various other different options there. For example, you've got let's see, an away win bonus point. So if the away team wins, they might get awarded some bonus points. So there's lots of different bonus points available there. Dish bonus points is another one. So for every dish, you might get awarded an additional point. You've then got sponsors. So sponsors can appear within your website. You've got one main sponsor that appears, which you don't have set up. And you can have lots of other sub-sponsors that can appear there. Tables can also be sponsored, and they'll appear on things if you're using tablet scoring, etc. But yes, you can have sponsors, so you can sell some space on your website. You've then got online payment set up. So with the online payments, we partner with a company called Stripe. When it comes to league registration fees or competition registration fees, you can offer the ability for your players and captains to pay via card. And connected to Stripe will allow you to hook your account up to Stripe, and that will allow them to pay by card in a fully integrated way. There are some separate charges that apply if you're using Stripe. They go direct to Stripe. We don't take any money out of that transaction whatsoever. But you also need to bear in mind when it comes to this is that if you are using paying by Stripe for competition entries, you cannot use Stripe in order to take money that is then rewarded as prizes. There's a term and condition within Stripe that prevents that. But if you're using it to reward trophies and your general league registration fees, then using a credit card payment system like Stripe is absolutely fine. You've then got social media. So this is where you can set up your integrations to Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. So you can click those buttons to start you through those processes. And when you have that there, you've also got these social media settings. So you can post something to your timelines when matches are live, when things have been started. You can post a result summary automatically. And you can also post individual scorecards. There is an API. If you're a software developer, you might want to look at accessing our API for various different things. You do need an API key to access it, so this is where you would manage it. Talk to us separately if you're going to use the API, just because it's something that not many people use, and we just want to make sure that people get the best value out of it. And finally, billing and licensing. Now, you don't need to worry about this as a team league. You automatically get included on the VIP plan, but if you're using a singles league or you're a competition organizer, you do need a valid software license. The next menu we have under here is your content management, and this is where you configure things like your pages. So in your page list, you see you've got the ability to create a new page or edit a page. And when I click on the page name, I get the ability to edit this just like you would use it in any sort of Microsoft Word or anything. You can include the sponsors to appear on the page. You can indicate if that page is active or not, and that indicates whether or not the page appears within your menu, and the sequence determines what order it appears in when compared to the other pages. If I then go into news articles, this is where we have the news publishing system. So again, we've got a couple of news articles here. If I were to click on the new article button, I could create a new one. When I create the new article, I can determine whether or not it appears on my homepage. I can give it a title, and again, I've got the full WYSIWYG capabilities here to be able to add what I want. I can add images, do whatever I need to be able to do here. And the interesting thing with these articles is that I can choose to automatically publish them to socials if the social media channels were hooked up, and I can also email these to captains. So I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video. So you can help drive people towards your website, and you've got one central place that you can send official communications through. We've then got the ability to manage your perpetuals. So your perpetuals is a competition or a division that happens every single season. So if there's a competition that you run every season, it effectively creates itself as a perpetual. So within here, I can go into, let's say, the Premier Division, and within the Premier Division, I get the ability to add my historical roll of honour. So this is where you do that sort of stuff. If there's been a mistake or an error in the automatic assigned roll of honour, you can delete it, and you can add manually back into the roll of honour as well. So you've got some capabilities around that. And we've also got our custom menu items. So I talked about that a little bit earlier as well. We've got these two buttons here, which are buttons. You can see when I create a new custom menu item, I can create a new link, give it a URL, give it a icon from Bootstrap icons. And if I open that, you can see all the different icons that you can utilize within your menu. You can also indicate if it's got a parent item, so you can build a sub-menu structure within that as well. Okay, next up we move into league management, and firstly your players list, and this is your players database, and this player database is unique to you. Now all players are global, so let's say if I find myself, then I can see here it's got me as a player, but I am portable. So this list only includes players that have been played in your league, that are registered to your league as well. So there's some technical stuff that goes on behind the scenes that links a player to your league or your organisation. If I were to click on my name, I can make edits to it. Now, because I've got a user account, I can't edit any of this information. So anybody that's got their own user account, they're responsible for updating their own details. If there was a different user that didn't have a user account, for example, Andy Adams here, then I get the ability to enter this, and I can invite them to create an account. And I'm going to talk about that invitation process a little bit later on. Now within here, I've got the ability to register to a team. So this is where you can do that. I can also change players amongst teams as well, but there's also a transfer system that could be utilized here as well. So let's use this as the example. Press the transfer button to be able to transfer David Adamson. I can also deregister from here as well. And I can see here I've got 2 seasons, the current season and the next season. So we're just preparing our next season, which I'll come into in a little bit. I've then got my teams list. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that we have the concept of a kind of a parent team and a seasonal team, so that all of that history gets linked back up to a parent team. And if I have a look at the Wolves B team here, I've got all of the history. I can see who played in that team for every single one of these divisions. I can see the venue they played, and this is where you update things like the team name. So if, I don't know, if mid-season they move venue, you might change that in here. If you change the team name here, it will update the parent team name, but you can also detach those as well. So that's where you manage all of your teams. I'm going to talk about seasons last of all, because I think that's the area that contains a little bit more detail just in terms of the kind of setup of the season. But our calendar dates is where we contain all of our dates for our calendars you'd expect. Then these are usually managed when you set up your season. You're very rarely actually going into this, but you have got the ability to come in here and edit any particular calendar date. For example, this season, when we had the Euros and we had a match that needed to be rearranged, because of that, we could push everything back using this screen here. We've then got our fixtures and results, and this is where you go into when you're administering your results. Now, usually, most of the time, all of this is all happening seamlessly by captains, but if somebody makes a mistake, you can drill in here, you can click on the scorecard button, and you can make edits to this scorecard. And again, this all scales down nicely. So if you're on a match night and somebody's made a mistake with the lineup, you can actually make the edits in here. The key thing to know is update does just an update. You use that if a match is in play. If the match has already been completed, you can do update and commit, because update and commit will finalize the result and also update all the player statistics as well. You've got the ability in here to manage any disputes and issue any penalty points that you might need to for all the various different reasons, of which there are many. Obviously, there's none in there, but press the issue penalty button will allow you to issue it. You can also enter a negative penalty as well if you need to reward points for any particular reason. That is available within there as well. And there's also the ability for you to maintain and operate singles leagues as well. And we don't have any against this particular league, but this takes you to a wizard, and there's a whole separate video that you can find on our channel relating to singles leagues. Now, the final part I'm going to go into here, again, competition management is really a very, very different area, but I'll just go into some of the basics here. It has your competition list, that just gives you an idea of the sorts of things that we can do within your competitions. And then we've got, let's use the men's singles as an example. Now, in the men's singles, when it opens, when we land here, we've got the ability to see all of our different rounds and all the settings for these rounds as well. Now, bringing this all the way back to creating a new competition, you enter some details about the competition. So you give it a name, you give it a capacity, so if you've got a limit on how many people can enter, you link it to a season, you indicate whether it's a perpetual that we talked about earlier, and you assign all these basic pieces of information. Now, we do have an online entry system for competitions where they can enter online through a very, very simple form. You can track the payment status of these entries as well. And if I go to the entry screen here, we can see there's different kind of things that we can do with those entries. So firstly, captains can enter on behalf of them in the app during team registration. So captains can enter players. They can be allowed to enter directly via the competition page on the website. And then this indicates when entries are and aren't open. So I've just checked that box here so we can see what it shows us on the main competition page. So we can see here all of the different entries. Now, if we make a mistake, we can remove an entry. We've got the ability to edit an entry here. So we can edit the players that are in the entry, because of course if it's a doubles match, then you'll have multiple different players. You can also edit the entry description. So if, I don't know, you're doing a 3-man event and they want it to be named I don't know, the best team ever with the 3 players, you can name the entry description to be something a little bit more personalised there. But what you can also do with this is you can use the entries report. The entries report will show you a quick list of who's in it, the team and the enter date, and if it's a paid competition, it will also indicate who has and hasn't paid there. And the other thing you can do is you've got this email competitors button. So this will allow you to communicate with your competitors. It might be sending instructions like make sure you turn up for your competition at 12 o'clock, or you might have to cancel the competition. So this will allow you to email and communicate out with those people. Now if I go into the rounds button by pressing next, okay, we can see all of the different round setups that I've got here. So I can see here we are at the quarterfinal stage. I can come back and I can make edits to my round if I need to. Again, I can edit players in case I've made a mistake. I can swap players over. I can set the entries of a buy, and this is where I go in to edit any scores. So if players aren't using the mobile app to record their scores and they send it to you by text or whatever, you can come in here and you can record the results. And we're going to see how that's done in the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals here, I've got the ability to, for example, access referee mode in case it's a neutral. This is where you define your referees and schedule the match. I can also switch the result over if the home and away player needs to be switched for whatever reason. That can flick that over too. And of course, go in here. I'll just enter who won, update and commit. The result goes green, and we can continue with the competition. I can do the same thing for this result to complete the round. If I go to proceed to next round, once all the matches are completed. Now, the other thing I can do here, if the match isn't going to be completed, but I want to proceed with the next round draw anyway, I can use the advance button, and that will mark a particular result as being an either or. So I can do that in a different competition. Proceed to next round, and it will create me a semi-final. It's a knockout type. Now we do of course support different. We've got round robin groups, we've got double elimination. We can do mini knockouts where you might have 8 players turning up at a single table and venue and playing to a winner. We can do predetermined, which will pre-bracket everything and do everything. We've also got the ultimate pool style last man standing there as well. Now what you can do within your round settings here is you define your date, define your match setup, and you've got 2 options. You can either manually draw the matches, in which case you can just select the entries for each match, or the one that most people use is automatically draw matches, and that will just randomize and do it. And you can press start round, and that is all up to date. And of course, because it's all real time, if you go into the competitions menu and look at men's singles, you can then see everything that you need to for this competition. Also within the competition here, we've got the ability to set up a finals day. I'm not going to go into that now, but if you know our league operates a finals day where all finals are played on a Saturday, so you can make arrangements for that. You've also got the ability to run challenge matches for streaming purposes. Money matches is a good example of where the challenge match might be used there. And we've also got the ability to do the competition series setup, which is also in there. Now, the part I said I'd come back to is your seasons, and the reason for that is because it warrants its own little section within this video. Now, your season is kind of the heart of what you do for setting up your league effectively. And many people consider a season as being a league. It's a summer, a winter, it could be all year long. However you want to kind of set it up, it's entirely up to you. What you can see, I've got a number of completed seasons. I've got the in progress season, I've got a draft season. You should only ever have 1 draft season and 1 season in progress. And of course, at the end of the season, you press that complete season button. That marks everything to the roll of honour. Don't press that button until all of your competitions are completed though, because otherwise it won't automatically assign things into the roll of honour for you. So what I'll just quickly do is I'll just show you the current in progress season, just so you've got a little bit of information about the sorts of things you can set up. So you give it a name, your rule set. This is where you can configure your match format, and you can jump straight to configure your match formats. You can have different match formats per division if you want to there as well. And for some leagues where you might want to have a decider at the end of the league match, you can choose what that decider is there as well. We've got certain settings in here depending on whether each team plays a different number of times per division, but that's not quite so relevant for most people. But hovering your mouse over these question marks will give you a little bit more information about what some of these settings do. We set up your player stats, so we've got the statistics name, we call it hot shots, but again, you could call it merits. We've also got all the different statistics methods that we've got there to determine what your rankings are, and also a minimum threshold for how many frames are required in order to qualify for the rankings. And we've also got this thing called Top Gun. Top Gun is something that more and more leagues use that I realise, and it's whether it takes the first frame into consideration only as a way of ranking your players. So it's either the first frame played in the first section or the first frame played. Now, built into the native app, we've also got a shot clock, so you can configure how that shot clock is set up within the native app here. And there's also got a match length in minutes in case you wanted to use a match clock, which can be used for those purposes. The season terms thing might include information about your upcoming season, so when your anticipated first match of the season is, any anticipated finals day dates, anything you can give your players to basically pre-answer any questions you're going to get asked. I'm all about trying to make sure that you get the right information to captain, so you haven't got to ask silly questions multiple times. Season timeline, so what's your first league match date going to be? You've got a player registration deadline, so some leagues allow you to register players up until a certain point, but not after. And you've also got a built-in transfer system within the app as well that people can transfer players. And you've also got the team registration open and close date as to when teams are able to register online, which is a separate setting. We've got our charging structure for your teams, and again, this is utilised if you want to pay by bank transfer, indicated price. You can also offer a cheaper re-registration price, so new teams might pay higher than teams that are paying in the next season. Our team screen then shows you all the teams that exist within this particular season. It gives you a good summary of their registered players, the competitions they've entered as well, and also this gives you the opportunity to access things like the payments report. So if you are tracking who's paid what, we can see here we've got some invoiced amounts, we've got some money owed by the Andover Golf Club and by the Clapford Arms dealers by the looks of it. So it gives you a good overview of keeping track of who's paying what, and you can also manage those invoices and payments by clicking the button, and that'll open the invoice and payment screen for this particular team. And we can see here I've got a bunch of competition entries that are marked as unpaid. So I can then check those, I can invoice the lines, I can then process a receipt as well, and you can access electronic receipts for all of this stuff as well. And also where the teams appear in the divisions appear on this screen as well. And this is where you might be able to change what league table configuration is being used, which is your points per win, all the other bits and pieces as well, promote, relegate, and the standard that's used for ELO purposes as well. You can also resequence these. If you get your divisions in the wrong order, I can say Division 1 is more important, so it works higher, and that restructures them within the website. Now, coming back to our seasons screen, if I have a look at the draft season, you can see how I haven't progressed all the way through, but there's some additional options in here. And the way that it works is you set up your basics, you register your teams, and you can do that manually as well using the register team button. And you can capture custom information as well if you want to. You assign teams into divisions, then that determines how many matches you need for your calendar. And what it then does is it maps your teams and your divisions against the calendar dates to produce a set of fixtures, and then you can then start your season. All of this stuff is all documented separately. I think there's also a different video all related to the season setup, and there's a checklist and everything else there. So please do find this stuff in the documentation when it comes to setting up your season. So before I start talking about the mobile app, I just want to mention a few things about how players and users are managed within the system. Okay, so first things first, players and captains do not self-register. Okay, if they were allowed to self-register, then they wouldn't be able to link their user account up to an existing player. So we do that by invitation. That invitation process performs that link between the user and a player. So within your system, against your player account, you can press the invite button, they will accept the invite, and that allows them to create an account. User accounts are mandatory for captains and they're optional for players. Captains need it in order to process their scorecards, for example. Players are optional, but it's recommended. And the reason for that is when we start looking at the mobile app, you'll see that if they're in playing competitions, they can self-submit their scores using the mobile application. So it's great for them to have the account, but it's not absolutely necessary. And the other thing that it's useful for is if a captain is away, they need to appoint a vice captain that might be able to run the app and run the scorecard when they're away. So you really do want that to be present for the captain to appoint the vice captain, so they've got a user account so that they can do it whilst they're away. Captains do get invited automatically, so when they register a team either by themselves or you register a team for them, they will automatically receive an invitation, and that just consists of an email with an activation link that they can click on. Now if they already have a user account, that's fine, they can just log into the user account and that will accept the team and it will link them up within their app, because within their app they can be a captain of multiple teams across multiple different leagues. And of course, once they've accepted the invite for the first time, if they don't already have it, they can download the mobile app from the App Store or the Google Play Store. Like I mentioned, players and users are portable across leagues. So, when a user logs into their app, they'll be able to see data for all the leagues that they are a part of. The mobile app has been designed to be as user-friendly as possible, particularly for those captains that might find using technology difficult. So at the front and centre, when you log into the app as a captain, you get this screen. So what this screen shows you is who your next match is. It shows you your form guide at the top. You can see all the information about your team. On the left-hand side, you've got some buttons that will take you to various different features within the app. Now, if at any point you need to come back, you've got the back button up at the top. You've got the menu button on the top left. Pressing the menu button will take you to that and you go to My Teams. So everything is accessible through the menu. Now, if, for example, you wanted to see a preview about the team that we're playing tonight, the RAM, I can press the Scouting Report button and that will open up a scouting report and show me all the information about my opponents. And I might be able to use that to gain a bit of an advantage. I can press the back button on my phone and it'll take me back to My Teams, reload the information and show me that stuff there. Now I can see all the information I need for this team. I've got my invoices, so I can tap on an invoice and that will open up a browser window. It shows me the invoice. Okay, switch back to my app. And I can also do the same thing with receipts. Now within here, if I've got multiple teams, I can actually swipe between those teams. So I only have one, so it's just really swiping between the same team. Okay, but importantly, I've got access to these buttons on the left hand side. I can, of course, upload a photo if I wanted to upload a picture, profile picture for my team, which is entirely possible. Okay, and I've got the ability to access the league website very quickly, so tapping that will open it in a new browser window so I can access all the full power of my league's website. The live scores button will take me there. I can press the matches button, so if I need to play a match out of order, I can do so. It gives me all my things, all my results, and if I needed to play the Prince Regent match in ahead of time, I can press the versus button and it will take me to the scorecard for that particular result. I'm going to get into the scorecards in a moment. Now, also on this screen, I've got the ability to create a friendly, so tapping that button will allow me to create a friendly against a team, which is sometimes useful pre-season to help teams get used to using the mobile app. If I come back to my team screen, okay, I've also got access to see the league table, which shows me the league table all natively with the application, and of course I've then got the ability to access hotshots and captain contacts and players. I'm not going to go into captain's contacts because it's going to show some sensitive information. But what I'm going to do when it comes to the players, I'm just going to open that and I can hide out some information there. So we can see here I've got all the details of my players on here. Now if I wanted to create a new player, I can press the new player button and I can register a brand new player, and I can do this at any point in time, assuming that my league rules dictate that I do it. And if I try and register a player that already exists, so let me try this test player here, and it's going to do a lookup on the name and it's going to do a duplicate check, and it's going to tell me if that player already exists in the database. And if that player already exists in the database and they're local, if it's somebody in Scotland and you're based on the south coast, it's unlikely to be the same person. But if it's somebody that's likely to be the same, you can actually choose that player rather than creating duplicate accounts there. Now also, if I look at my particular player record, then what I've got here is the ability to edit it. Now because I have a user account, I can't edit my player, but I could add an email address and I could send an invitation out as a captain to that player. Now, if I wanted to grant captain's rights to Kev Olding, I can tap the captain's rights button and it turns that on and turns it off, and I can press the vice button as well. So you can see on here, everybody with a little player symbol on their face, they've got a user account already, so I've got no invitations to be sent there. Now, also within this mobile application, alongside the stuff that you can do for your teams, is you can access my account. Within my account, you can see it allows me to update all my personal information, all my bio information. I can upload a profile picture, and I've also got my contact preferences that exist within there as well. And the system respects all those contact preferences that are in there. I can also go into my matches, and what my matches does, it allows me to see all the competition matches I've got there. I can book my matches, and I can press the play button, and this is where it comes into play that I might be able to use a scoreboard. So this comes up with a nice scoreboard that allows me to, if I turn it round to the right, it will resize. I can indicate who's won the lag, and then I can indicate the winner of various frames. Now, if I close out of that match, I can then go back into my teams, I can view the live scores, and I can see that that match is live and in play. So you can utilize the mobile app as a physical scoreboard for all of your competition matches there. Also built in, we've got the ability to run a shot timer, and I can just set a time running. It will beep at the defined threshold as well, and it will vibrate in your hand as well, so you don't have to spend all the time looking at it. You've got a shortcut to your pool profile, and you've also got access to the scoreboard in case you're using it for tablet scoring. And when you press the scoreboard button, you can enter a match or table code to access the same scoreboard you saw before. And importantly, you've got the version number that appears on this menu here. So what this menu does, it will show you what version you're running, and sometimes if a league admin, if there's a new feature, you might need to check that you're running the latest version, which you can obviously get from your app store. But coming back to my teams allows me to return back to my team, which is that home page. So now let's take a look at how captains use their mobile apps on a match night. So this is a typical kind of setup. On the left-hand side here, I've got the home captain's device. On the right-hand side, I've got the away captain's device. And in the middle here, I've got the live score screen, because the live score screen is going to show us what's been going on that everybody else can see. And the live scoring is one of the best features within the system, so it's useful to be able to see that. So as I've mentioned before, it's all about getting the right information into the hands of the captains at the right time. So as the home captain, you've got a nice play button for that match to say they're playing against the Busby Babes. They can press play, and that will load the scorecard from the home captain, and I can press play for the away captain, and it does exactly the same thing. Now, if we have a look at the home captain screen, you can see the home captain has got the lag buttons. Now, the reason for that is because the way that the system works is the home captain does the data entry for the scoring, and the away captain approves it. Now, you don't need to do that for the lag, but what you should do is you should be entering the players. So as a home captain, I will enter in my players. Now, this particular setup is designed to not reveal your opponent's team until both sides are locked in, but that is not a requirement across all setups, so just bear that in mind. There are lots of different ways that your scorecard can be managed. I'm going to enter the team for the away side as well, and what you can see here is on the opposing device, it doesn't show who's been selected yet. Now, once the lineups have been entered, I'm going to lock in the home side, and that will lock that side in, so that those changes cannot be made anymore, and they don't appear on the right side, the away side just yet. But I will lock in the away side as well, and you can see when both sides have locked in, then both sides get each team revealed. So on the home side of the screen, you can see the home captain's got the ability to enter in the results, and they can enter in whether it's a win or whether it's a dish. Now, what you can't see there at the moment is who's breaking. So you indicate who won the lag, and it sets your break indicator for everybody. Now, what you'll see there is for each result, you can either enter who's won, and if they won via a break dish or a reverse dish. So by pressing that button will automatically trigger that score. And what you'll see as the home captain is entering these scores, then the away device will refresh in the background every 30 seconds or so and give you the option to approve the results. Provisional score gets shown at the top, but you can confirm the frame approval. And what we'll see within the live scores is as the frames get approved, then the match appears within the live scores. Now what you'll notice as well is within the live scores, it also shows you the lineup that's been entered. So you can always see that. Again, that's a configurable option as to whether or not you want to display that. Now, you don't have to play the frames in order. You could play frame 5 ahead of frame 4 if you choose to. The most effective way to do this is for all captains to enter their frames in real time, purely because it's the most interesting thing for your viewers and for people in other venues to be able to keep track of the live scores there. And then you just repeat that process as you go along. Now, what you will see in the second set of singles, we're utilising an automated mechanism in here to automatically pre-populate the second half. So we can see we've got a rotation for the second half. The person playing in player 5 for the away automatically gets transcribed into position number 1, which is position number 5, which is frame number 8. Because that's the way that this has been structured. Again, that's an option. You don't have to set that up, but it does help reduce user error if you've got a particularly predefined format that uses that. So we can support that. Of course, we've got to do the doubles first, so I'll fill in the doubles pairings as we go. And I'll also lock in the second set of singles as well. And that just allows us to proceed with the match, to indicate the winners. Put some dishes in here as well. And then if you want to use the little arrow, then it will refresh the result. Otherwise, it will get the data every 30 seconds. I'm just going to approve these frames. Now what you see here, this live scores page, if we refresh it, is always keeping up to date with what the current scoreline is. Now, with all the frames submitted, we have to do the equivalent of signing a scorecard. Now, you don't need to do that because you're a logged in user. There's no need for a signature. But the home captain starts off by pressing submit result, and this allows them to finalize the result and update all the real league tables. If there is a dispute for whatever reason, there is a dispute management system. You can check the box and it will not update all of your stats and all of your league tables. But otherwise, I'm going to submit the result. And then the away captain can then approve the result, and they also get the opportunity to enter a result if they want to as well. And it's not until you press the approve result button that the results gets finalised and your league tables and player stats get all updated. You can see there the scorecard has been completed, and you just repeat that for every single type of match that you've got there. And that concludes this demonstration. It hopefully gives you enough information about what the RackEmApp platform can bring to your team league to make you think it might be the solution for you. If you've got any more questions or need to know more information, then you can write to us at hello@rackemapp.com. Our documentation is all at blog.rackemapp.com, and that's got all the information about every feature that's in there. This demo has covered lots in a high level. There's a whole raft more functionality, particularly around competitions, what you can do for arenas, tablet scoring, table booking, the list goes on and on and on. So there really is more to check out. So, hopefully you found this useful, and please do get in touch.